What's up, guys? How you all doing tonight? I hope you guys are doing great. So listen now, put on your headphones, get up, dance around, make sure you have some room because we're gonna have some fun tonight. So jam with us here now. Come on. I don't wanna be in my phone, but I can't be alone. Welcome to the modern way, trying to be somebody I'm not, but it's not what I want. Tell me there's another way. All the lights I chased are now fading. All the cheap thrills were only time wasted. Tell me why society's plans to define who I am. Surely there's a highway. All of my best friends are sick of pretending. We want the truth. We want it. So much is missing. So give us the real thing. I know it's you. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. I don't wanna stereotype to decide who I am. It never knew me anyway. Over trying to find the next high, cause the high never lasts. I'm not going another way. All the lights I chase are now fading. Doing what's right, the times they are changing. Tell me why society's plans to define who I am. Surely there's a highway. All of my best friends are sick of pretending. We want the truth. So much is missing. So give us the real thing. I know it's true. Na 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 na. Hey. Na 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 na. All of my best friends are sick of pretending. We want the truth. We want it. We want it. So much is missing. So give us the real thing. I know it's you. I know it's you. All of my best friends are sick of pretending. We want the truth. So much is missing. So give us the real thing. I know it's you. I know it's you.
Hey guys, what an incredible time of worship we just had. Man, Isaac and Caden, they're absolutely incredible. And we just want to say thank you to them. They lead us in worship every single week, and we're so thankful for them. We look forward to being back in the room, being able to worship with all of you and hear all of your voices. And welcome to week 4 of What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do. This series has been really cool, and hey, we have something really special for you tonight. So let's get started.
So, when you don't know how to do something, how to fix something, or how something works, what do? Ask a teacher? Ask your parents? Ask your friends? Ask someone you really know and trust? No! You go to the internet and ask some randos. But I'm not talking about creeps here, I hope. No, I mean the people of the internet! You know, those people who make how-to videos. Because chances are, if you're trying to figure out something, someone on the internet has already figured it out for you. Things like, how do I unsend a text? No. How do I do a winged eyeliner? How do I get rid of the zit by Friday night? How do I get out of gym class? How do I screen cap Snapchat without getting caught? They'll never know. But then there are things in life that don't have an easy fix, that don't have a simple solution, that don't have a how-to video. Things like what to do when you have problems with family, or when it seems like you have no control in your life, or what to do when someone has done something to you. I mean, clearly, they gotta go. The truth is, There's a lot of life that doesn't have a solution you can just find online. So how do you know what to do when you don't know what to do?
So hey guys, tonight we have some special guests. So y'all say what's up.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey.
How you doing?
So, Reagan, Joe, Luke, what have y'all been doing?
So we're moving, so we're packing, and it's a little bit hectic, but we're getting used to like not having a full house. So yeah, it's really empty, but yeah.
Nice, nice.
For me, me and my friends have been working on renovating out and fixing up the car, our van, and we're gonna take it on a road trip. It's gonna be pretty exciting. We put in some speakers, and we're gonna install some subwoofers pretty soon, and a TV. So it's pretty cool.
For me, I've been getting ready to go to SWO. I've been scootering, and I've just been hanging out around the house.
Okay, awesome. When do you go to SWO?
I go to SWO on Friday.
Friday. All right, show Joe some love in the chat right now. Tell him you're gonna miss him. We're gonna miss you, Joe. It's gonna be awesome watching you be there. But hey, I have a question to kind of get us started tonight, and it's just a really easy, simple, quick, and at the same time in the chat, make sure you tell us what your favorite movie is. But right now, tell everybody what your favorite movie, your favorite story, tell them what it is.
So my favorite movie, it has to be in between Mary Poppins and Mamma Mia. I just really love musicals. And then like a story, I guess my favorite Bible story would be Esther. I just love her journey and like everything she goes through. It's so powerful.
Okay, nice.
I think for me, it's pretty obvious. Anyone who knows me knows that I love Star Wars. Part of that comes from being named Luke, right? You gotta love it. But my favorite movie out of that is definitely Empire Strikes Back. It's
Ooh, yes.
the best,
Yes.
if I can
that's
say
good.
so. But my favorite book is actually one that I read again recently. It's called Ready Player One, and it was a really cool story to get into, really futuristic and like kind of like not like apocalyptic, but like dystopian. So I liked it.
Nice, nice. So Luke, question is, are your parents Star Wars fans? Is that why you're named Luke?
My dad, yes, that is. He wanted to be able to say, "Luke, I am your father."
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
That's so cool. Nice, nice. What about you, Joe?
For me, my favorite movies either got to be Shrek or Spider-Man. They have to be. It's either one of those.
Shrek and
Watch them.
Spider-Man. That's kind of completely like different scales, but I like it.
I could watch them over and over again and never get bored.
All. How many Shreks are there? Is there just 3 or is there 4?
There's 4. There's a Shrek Ever After.
4. Oh, I see. I haven't seen that one. My bad.
Hey, you gotta
So
go
which one's
see
your
it.
favorite? Which one's your favorite? 1 through 4.
The first one.
First one. All right. Let us know in the chat
Classic.
what your favorite Shrek is. That is a good one. I do like that one. Donkey is probably my favorite character. But anyway, I think what we can all agree what makes a great story or a great movie is definitely probably the backstory of it. I mean, a good movie or good story like shows the good and the bad of every character. You know, it shows exactly who they are. And you know, one of the things about backstory, even though it's really good, even though it's really good for like the movie, sometimes you're watching it and you're asking the question like, why is this happening? For instance, like Joe's one of his favorite movies, and I think of is Spider-Man. Like if you watch Spider-Man, the first time you saw it, you probably watched the scene with his uncle, and you're like, why are they showing me this? It's like a flashback. It doesn't really make sense. But if you see the backstory and you see the end of Spider-Man, you're all of a sudden knowing that what happened to his uncle caused him to become the Spider-Man who fights evil and does all those things. So backstory in the moment doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense, but at the end of the movie, you're like, man, that backstory was really, really good. But a lot of times when you're watching backstory, you're asking the question, what's happening right now, and what's the point of this? And maybe you're going through something in your life where maybe you're asking those same questions, where you're going, hey, what is happening right now? Like, why is this happening to me? Like, what is even the point of all of this? And maybe it's like kind of what we've been talking about the last few weeks, but tonight we're going to kind of deal with some of the real stuff. We're going to get into like some of the reasons probably the reasons you're asking those questions, and it may be because maybe people are making fun of you. Maybe you've lost a friend. Maybe your learning disability makes everything more difficult. Maybe your parents are going through a messy divorce, or they just went through a divorce. Or maybe your self-harm habit is getting way out of control. Or maybe someone you know right now is really sick, and you're asking those questions of why is this happening, and what is the point of this? And it's kind of a question like for you guys tonight, Would anybody be willing to share, like, has there ever been a moment in your life where you've asked that point where you go, hey, why is this happening?
Yeah, so like for me, I've always struggled making friends and not like it's not like people like despise me, but I just don't really find somebody that is like a good match for me, I guess, for like in friendship qualities. And it like brings because sometimes I think like why don't I have a lot of friends? But then I remember that like God's always got me, like he's always gonna be my best friend. So
For me, the first thing that comes to mind is when I was in 6th grade, I had a concussion, and it was a really bad concussion. I actually got assaulted, and it was something that I struggled through with the after effects of that concussion and like the emotions. I missed school a lot because I had a headaches, like that would like just totally. I couldn't focus on anything. They were so bad, but eventually, like I just had to. It was just something I had to work through, and it was very, very hard.
For me, it would be with basketball. I'm always getting hurt. It seems like every season I'm breaking a bone, and just gotta be patient through that.
Yeah, you do like to wear boots during basketball season, Joe. That is for real. Yeah, I just want to say, like, even though I'm joking about Joe's boots, like, man, thank you guys for sharing that. I mean, it takes a lot, especially on camera when you're being recorded, to be able to say, like, hey, here's some reasons why I've struggled, or here's a point of where my life where I've really questioned that. And I think even like help the readers, there's no one reading this, help the viewers even more. Like, how do you get through those moments? How did you get through that situation in your life where you're asking, why is this happening? What's something you turn to?
I usually turn to my parents and like I talk to them about it because they were teenagers once too, and I know that they went through the same struggles. And I really just remembered that God's always got my back, and yeah.
That's good.
It was really hard, but eventually, it it was over. Like I healed from my concussion. Eventually, time heals, right? And eventually, God heals, and that's you just gotta just know and cling to that idea that it's gonna be over eventually. You're not gonna be stuck in that terrible situation forever.
Yeah.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I had to be really patient. I had to just distract myself from the pain and just know that it'll be over soon. And it was really tough.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thank you guys so much for sharing once again. But man, the answers you guys just gave are so good. You know, right? Like the light at the end of the tunnel. Like God's got you. He's going to get you through this. And at the same time, like you got to be patient and to see the rest of the story. I think that's so good because no matter where you're at and you're asking that question is why is this happening? I think we've all been there. We've all been through that where maybe it's a drama with friendships or it's a drama in your family. There's been something that has happened where you're asking the question, why is this happening? And they've already given some insightful answers, but I think another great thing that we can look at and we can discuss is this character that we've been walking through the last couple of weeks, and his name is Joseph, because you talked about moments in his life where he would ask the question, why is this happening? Or what am I supposed to do when I don't know what to do? Joseph's life was basically that whole story. And that's kind of what we're going to see tonight.
Yeah, so Joseph just has this crazy life, but we could learn a lot from it, which is good for us to look back on. But, you know, we've seen just how crazy his journey has been. I mean, like, his brothers hate him, tried to kill him. Like, they sell him into slavery, his own family. Then he's taken to this foreign country, and then all this stuff, and now he's in prison for something that he didn't even do. So, like, that's just so wild to see that someone went through this. And if anyone has the right to say, you know, why is this happening to me, or what's the point, like, God, where are you? It was definitely Joseph. Joseph's, like, throughout his whole life could have said this. And here's another situation that we're going to look at tonight where he says this, and we're going to look, he's in jail, and for something they didn't commit, and he actually meets some friends, and here's how the story goes in Genesis chapter 40. So sometime later, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt offended their master, the king of Egypt. Pharaoh was angry with his two officials, the cupbearer and the baker, and put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guard in the same prison that Joseph was confined in. So Pharaoh is this boss, the boss of Egypt. He's basically like rules over Egypt, and if he gets mad at anyone, they're going to prison. Like, it doesn't matter what you did, it doesn't matter if it's illegal. And that's what happened with these two guys, and they were thrown into the same prison with Joseph. And then here's what happens after that. After they had been in custody for some time, each of the two men, the cupbearer and the baker, the king of Egypt, who were being held in prison, had a dream the same night, and each dream had its own meaning, kind of familiar. When Joseph came to them the next morning, he saw that they were dejected. So he asked Pharaoh's officials who were in custody with him in his master's house, "Why do you look so sad today?" We both had dreams," they answered, "but there is no one to interpret them." And Joseph said to them, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me your dreams."
Yeah, so there's a lot happening right here. Like Joseph is in prison for a crime, once again, that he did not commit, and he's in a really difficult situation. But I love the story of Joseph because he continues to honor God. And if you really think of the story that Braden just read to us, like Joseph's in prison, and there's also these two new characters that we're going to read about. There's the cupbearer, and then there's the chief baker. And they kind of have these dreams, and Joseph kind of, once again, are really good at interpreting dreams. And he goes to these, he tells the cupbearer, like, "Hey, here's the end of your dream, and this is going to turn out favorable to you." And then he tells the same thing for the chief baker. He tells, "Hey, here's what your dream means, and it's not necessarily going to turn out that great for you." And exactly what Joseph says, it happens, right? And you would think for the cupbearer who got out of prison, Joseph's dreams come true, exactly how Joseph said it was going to happen. You would think that the cupbearer would go to Pharaoh, like the president at that time, and be like, "Hey, Mr. Pharaoh, I need to tell you about this guy who really helped me out. His name was Joseph, and I think you should also get him out of prison because truthfully, he's a great guy, and he's there for something that he never even did." But that's not really what happened. Right? The story of Joseph, as you probably know, but the cupbearer goes on about his life. He gets out of prison like Joseph told him, and he completely forgets about Joseph. So as we kind of think about that for you guys, how would that make you feel? Like you were in prison with this guy, you helped him out, and then you think the cupbearer is going to like remember you, but he doesn't. Like how would that make you feel, or how would you react?
I would definitely feel betrayed because I had helped this person out, and I would just I'd probably get mad at myself too, because I would feel like what I did wasn't enough, and that he just didn't really think that it was that necessary to tell him.
I mean, you have to imagine they probably became pretty good friends. Like they're both in prison together, or all three of them are in prison together. And after sharing the dreams and Joseph interpreting for him, to have that dream come true and for him to subsequently forget Joseph, like what in the world? Like he feels like abandoned, like in addition to being betrayed, like he's just leaving him there, messed up.
Yeah.
If that were to happen to me, I would just feel unwanted, like just get betrayed and then just get forgotten there. Like I just feel like they didn't want me.
Yeah, I think that's so good. Like all of you guys' answers, I think the things you said would probably be the same way that I would feel, and probably majority of people watching, you would feel unwanted, like I was never enough. And maybe you've been in those situations where you're having conflict with someone and you're thinking like, I'm not enough, or maybe, I'm unwanted. That's a powerful word, and maybe you feel like that right now. And I think the story of Joseph, as you guys know it, like there's so many moments in his life where he's asking this question of what to do when I don't know what to do, or at the same time, of why is this going on? But imagine being Joseph right now. You've been in prison, you interpret this dream, and you think you're going to get out. This guy says, "Hey, I'll remember you," but then he gets out and he forgets about you. This is probably one of the lowest moments of Joseph's life. Even all the stuff he's went through, he's in prison for something he didn't do. You imagine that being difficult, but right now he's probably really, really low. And the story of Joseph goes on to kind of like this. You maybe heard it, but he stays there for 2 years, 2 long years. And then Pharaoh, the president at the time, the king, like the guy who was number one in all of Egypt, he kind of starts having these dreams. And the cupbearer, kind of in his freedom, he's right there to the king and all that stuff like that. Pharaoh has his dream. None of the wise men could interpret it. No one could do it. But then the cupbearer all of a sudden remembers, there was this guy named Joseph. He was with me in prison, and he interpreted a dream for me. And everything he said that was going to happen, it came true. So maybe you should talk to him. So that's exactly what Pharaoh does. Pharaoh goes and talks to Joseph. Joseph interprets the dream that there's this famine that's going to happen in the land. And then Pharaoh anoints Joseph as the number 2 person in charge. And you've probably understood this. Like 2 full years to go by, that's a long time. You can imagine there's lots of days of Joseph saying, why is this happening? What is the point of all this, right? There's a lot of backstory in that. But we get to see kind of towards the end of Joseph's life, and we're going to kind of end with this next week in a really unique way. But one of the things that I want you to understand is that even Joseph becomes the number 2 person in command, he was still under Pharaoh's reign. Pharaoh at any moment could put him back in prison. Pharaoh at any moment could kick him out of the land of Egypt. but he anoints Joseph to the second person in command, and all of a sudden Joseph is able to use the wisdom that God has given him and all the stuff he's went through to save the country of Egypt from famine. But it didn't make it better overnight, right? The truth is that Joseph went through a lot of difficult circumstances that prepared him for something great. And it's something that God wanted to do in a specific time, and that time was right now. See, the truth is hard things can happen in your life. And it's important to remember that just because something happens in your life doesn't mean that it's something that God did to you, or that he won't use it for good. Because the truth is we live in a world full of sin. And sometimes things happen because we live in a sinful and broken world. Sometimes people hurt us because hurt people hurt people. We live in this whole land of that. So sometimes things happen to us. Doesn't mean that God did it. But also I want you to see a powerful truth tonight that even though something bad happened to you, God could still use it and do immeasurable and awesome things.
In Romans, it tells us exactly that God uses that even the worst things for our good. It says this, Romans 8:28, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. So this may not make things just better in the moment. It's not gonna fix everything or slap a band-aid on it, but it's gonna help. It can help us to just remember that God is in the business of taking our hurt and our difficulties and just our painful situations, and he redeems those and he brings good from those. And that means that whenever evil's done in our lives, we can trust that God's still going to use it for good, not just for us, but for all that love him.
Yeah, that's a powerful word. And I think this is the story of Joseph. And we're going to see this once again, even next week in a really powerful way. But at the same time, Joseph's story, all the things that that's happened to him in these moments where he's asked, why is this happening? He never lost the faithfulness, and he understood that there was a lot of the backstory that was preparing him for where God wanted to take him. And I think this is something we could say like this. The bottom line of tonight, if you remember nothing else, remember this, is to remember that your problems can position you for a purpose. Let me say that again, because that's really good. Remember that your problems can position you for a purpose. In the situation that you're in right now, where you're asking, why is this happening? And what is the point of this? Maybe remember that your problems can position you for a purpose. And I think that's a really good question to just kind of talk about that for a little bit, as we talked about what to do when you don't know what to do, and the situations where you're in the moment, you're in the pain. Maybe for someone even right now, they're in a situation where they're going, I don't see any good coming out of this. Jesus, obviously, we can have confidence that God's ability to redeem things. But right now, it's for you guys, how do you get through those moments of pain, and how can you change your perspective?
I do talk to my parents a lot about the things I'm going through, but usually the Bible app is a really good, because I can just go straight to it and find a Bible reading plan that is perfect for the situation that I'm in. And that really just gives me a lot of hope, because knowing that other people go through that too. So yeah.
For me, it's definitely music. That's my big safety net, I guess. But I love to I have a bunch of old CDs. My parents used to play this band in the car when we drove to church when I was really little. It was called Third Day, and they got me hooked on them pretty good. And it's my favorite Christian band right now, and they have been for a while. And so when I'm just feeling out of it, feeling really, really down, or just going through something, I pop in a CD or play it on Spotify and just listen and worship in the car, in my room.
That's good.
And it's really, really powerful, really helpful.
For me, it's either listening to music or playing video games, because I don't know, they just help me.
I feel you, guys, those are so good. Your parents, go to scripture, worship, listen to good music. These are so good ways that can help us see a purpose or help us through something. Here's a couple other ways that help give us a bigger perspective of what might be happening in our life. First, remember that no one else has the same story as you. Your life story is going to be different than everyone else's, and your circumstances are unique to you. But the good thing is they put you in a position to learn and grow and discover things about yourself and God that are specific for you, and that ways that other people might not be able to grow through that. So that might not make it easier, but it helps at least give us perspective to be like, this is happening at least for a reason.
Man, that's so good. I think at the same time, like Braden's talking about, like, Romans 8:28, it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to happen in the moment. It doesn't mean it's going to happen like tomorrow, but we can always live every single situation knowing that we can leave the room knowing that God's going to tell a new story. We can always know that evil doesn't get the last word in the situation, and we can have confidence in that. And I think from other people's testimonies, and I love what Reagan's talking about, talking to her parents, and one of the reasons to do small groups is because you're in groups with leaders and other people that are probably going through some of the same things you're going through. No one else has your story, but I think that another thing that I would encourage you to remember is that remember that your story can impact others. And what I mean by that is this: although you're going through your own story and God is going to do something specific in your life, and we know that He's got good that He's going to bring about even the worst situations. But at the same time, many people do face the same circumstances that you face. They may allow to have a voice that kind of help them through it. Maybe it's the family drama that they're going through that can help someone else in the family drama. Maybe someone else goes through a hard breakup, or maybe you go through a hard breakup so you can help someone else. Or maybe the sickness or the illness or whatever, or the questions and doubts that you carry about faith, you have those and you can help someone else with that. I think that's my story. My parents went through divorce, and honestly, it's one of the hardest things I've ever went through. I went through when I was 20 years old, and it hit me hard. But the truth is, God allows that to be something that I can still share with other people. And it's probably been the one thing that I'm allowed to share with more than anything else in my ministry, as just kind of like split families. And hey, here's what God did for me, and here's what God spoke to me in that. So know that anytime you go through a hard situation, become the person that looks and goes, hey, I see people who are hurting. And instead of going, hey, I don't know about that, you can look and say, oh, you're hurting? Hey, I feel that too. And listen, here's what God did in my life. It gives us a great opportunity to live like Jesus by meeting people exactly where they are. We don't have to try to pretend to be something. We can go, oh yeah, I remember going through that, and here's what Jesus did in my life. So remember that your story is your own. Like, God's going to do something incredible in your story, but also remember that your story can impact others. And once again, this is why we do small groups. I can't say this enough. We said this almost every week through the end of the series. But listen, you're in groups where you can talk about these things. You can talk openly, freely, in a safe place. And at the same time, you have a small group leader. And these small group leaders, they're incredible. They're some of my favorite people on the earth. But at the same time, they have a lot of life experiences and a lot of circumstances that they've been through. And they probably asked that question, why is this happening and what is going on? And they can be able to share in their life, their testimony of how God got them through and what God has done in their life. So if you're in that small group, be open, encourage them, reach out to them. If you're in one of those moments right now where you're going, hey, I don't know how to get through this, reach out to somebody and speak to them. And I guess just say this, Joseph went through the pain and it felt pointless in the moment. But when we see the backstory that God used his problems and it positioned him for a purpose, that God took the impossibly bad situation and used it to create an unimaginable good down the road, then that should encourage us. And I guess the question I have for you right now is this: what if God used your painful situation to position you for something amazing that you haven't even imagined yet? That's a great, great thought. Hey guys, we're going to say bye to our special guest, but make sure you stay tuned for a special announcement. And I guess tonight I just want to say this. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being so open and sharing and just everything that you said. You've given us a lot of insight, and we just thank you for hanging out with us. You're some of the coolest people on the earth, and thanks for being our special guest, man. So we'll see you guys later.
Adios. Bye.
Bye. Hey guys, tonight was incredible, but next week is going to be awesome because we're going to have a live service. We're going to be doing that in-house, and you guys can watch it. But listen, the whole point of this is we want to answer your questions in the moment, okay? We're going to do that on YouTube, right? We're going to throw the link in right now that you can go like it, subscribe it, and we're going to be there. And listen, I know that this series, what to do when you don't know what to do, has probably brought up a lot of questions that maybe you have. Next week is your opportunity to ask those. We're going to have some special people here with me, and we're going to answer all of your questions next Wednesday night at 6:30. We'll be on the pre-service on the 6:15 on Instagram Live, hanging out, playing some games with those special people. And then at 6:30, we'll be on the YouTube channel. Be in the chat. You can submit your questions and be there. And listen, I know that you guys are kind of getting tired of seeing my face and Braden's face, even though they're pretty awesome faces. But listen, we have some more exciting news coming out really soon, and we can't wait to give that to you. It's going to be a really cool step, and we can't wait for that to happen, and that will happen soon. But next Wednesday night, live service at 6:30. Check it out. Be there.